It really shows that the P7 isn't aiming to be a true driver's car like the Xiaomi SU7. It's more of a family sedan dressed up in a sporty suit. But hey, after what happened with the Model Y, we're not taking any chances. Time to call in my buddy Mr. Magnet. Now, on paper, this whole rear suspension setup looks way more serious than what you get in a Tesla Model Y. Those bolsters react pretty slowly, so unlike a true dynamic system, they can't instantly firm up on the side. If you already know this is meant for emergencies, why make it so hard to use? It makes the word emergency printed on it feel kind of ironic. But I couldn't find any options for front-rear torque distribution or traction control. So yeah, this track mode feels more like a mood setter than a serious performance tool. My guess is this demo car is running the triple Turing chip setup with one dedicated just to the cabin system. That would explain why it's so ridiculously fast. Wow. Hey everyone, welcome to a special weekend episode. Today we've got the all-new Xpeng P7. Xpeng just rolled out the latest generation of the P7 this week, and yeah, I've seen plenty of promo shots already. But the moment I saw it in person, wow, still absolutely stunning. Zero design fatigue here. This thing looks like they took a concept car and just built it. No compromises. Honestly, I think this could easily take home the Best Exterior Design of 2025 award. The new P7's exterior is a masterclass in blending retro wedge styling with futuristic tech. Those LED light strips neatly trace the body lines, wrapping around the car's sharp folds. And because of the modern LED headlamp cluster, you don't need those old school pop-up headlights that classic wedge cars had. Honestly, it feels even more sci-fi than the Cybertruck, like the car just drove out of a sci-fi film and parked right in front of you. If they ever made a stainless steel version like Tesla's Cybertruck, man, that would be next level awesome. The new Xpeng P7 is a seriously big car. We're talking 5,017 millimeters long, 1,970 wide, and 1,427 tall with a wheelbase of 3,008 millimeters. That firmly puts it in the C-segment sedan category. Alright, as usual, let's start with the front end. Right up top, you've got this full-width light bar, no brakes anywhere, clean and futuristic. Then flanking both sides, you've got these vertical LED strips that kind of frame the whole look. And right where the strip breaks, that's where Xpeng hid the turn signals. Nice touch. Drop down a bit and you'll see the main headlights sitting just under that light bar. 6 projectors on each side. 3 for high beam, 3 for low beam. Very symmetrical, very intentional. Swinging to the bumper, you've got aerodynamic cutouts on each side. Functional, not just for show. Down low, there's a front splitter design. And right above it, an active air intake grille. And here's the clever bit. Xpeng didn't want to mess up the face with a big license plate smack in the middle, so they mounted it really low. From the front, it just covers the grille, but peak from the side, and you'll notice it's actually floating, so air can still pass through into that intake. That's the kind of small engineering detail I love. Up top, the Xpeng logo might look like a regular badge at first glance, but nope, this thing actually lights up, kind of like, remember those old MacBook logos that would glow on the back of the lid? Yeah, that vibe. Now, I was scratching my head wondering how they even pulled that off. I mean, how do you get light to shine through what looks like a solid steel panel? So I called in my buddy, Mr. Magnet, to help me out. And sure enough, mystery solved. That front panel just ahead of the frunk isn't metal at all. It's plastic. Clever little trick. Down on the lower right side of the front bumper, you'll spot this little cluster of tiny holes. That's actually a microphone. Yep, you can talk to your car from the outside. Things like, turn on the lights, and it'll do it. Now, don't worry, random people can't just walk up and start unlocking your car. You can set up voice print recognition so it only listens to you. But here's the catch. If you're somewhere noisy, you're gonna have to raise your voice a lot, and yeah, yelling at your car in public might get you a few weird looks. Check out these wheels, they look fantastic. This set is the optional 21-inch forged design, which isn't cheap to make. The standard setup is a 20-inch cast wheel, which is more budget-friendly, but definitely less exotic. Wrapped around them, you've got Michelin's top-tier Pilot Sport EV tires, which strike a nice balance between handling performance and keeping road noise down. And yeah, Xpeng went with a staggered setup here, 245/40 R21s up front and beefier 275/35 R21s in the back. That's the kind of spec you see on performance-oriented cars, so it's a pretty clear sign this thing means business. Peeking through the wheel arch, you can see this beefy upper control arm, classic double wishbone suspension. But hey, after what happened with the Model Y, we're not taking any chances. Time to call in my buddy Mr. Magnet. Yep, confirmed, it's aluminum. Oh, and if you're curious about the suspension setup on the Model Y, I've actually gone through all the materials in detail before. Just tap the link up here in the corner and check out our previous video. Slide under the car a bit and you'll spot the main front suspension components, chunky lower control arms and a sturdy knuckle, also aluminum. So yeah, Xpeng definitely didn't skimp on materials here. Look up a little higher and you'll notice it's riding on air springs, dual chamber according to Xpeng. But here's the thing, this isn't the Vibeck air suspension you get on the G9. This one's from a domestic supplier. Honestly, I'm a bit concerned because the air suspension on the X9 from the same supplier just couldn't keep the body in check. Lots of unnecessary vertical bobbing. Let's hope Xpeng's tuned this one better. Alright, swinging around to the back, let's peek into the rear wheel arch. And yeah, no surprises here. It's an integrated rear cast section. But just like on the Xpeng G6, there's no anti-corrosion or anti-chip coating on it. Through the wheel spokes, you can see the rear suspension. Yeah, it's a multi-link independent setup. And yep, it's also on air springs. Two chunky white control arms stand right out. Time to bring back our good buddy, Mr. Magnet. And sure enough, full aluminum on those. The rest of the links, including the lower control arm, are steel, though that lower arm does have a protective cover, probably to keep it from getting chewed up by rocks and road debris. Now, on paper, this whole rear suspension setup looks way more serious than what you get in a Tesla Model Y. But remember, good hardware doesn't automatically mean good tuning, and good tuning doesn't always mean it feels great in the real world. That's something we're gonna have to find out once we actually get behind the wheel. Xpeng even mentioned at the launch that they're chasing lap times now, which makes me really curious to compare the P7's suspension feel to the Xiaomi SU7. But no test drive cars yet, so that part will have to wait. Alright, let's check out the body panels and see what they're made of. So up front, the hood steel, front fenders steel, both front doors steel, rear quarter panels, yep, also steel. Now here's the interesting part, the rear spoiler, that's aluminum. And the tailgate, also aluminum. Didn't see that coming. What's got me scratching my head though is why only these rear pieces get the aluminum treatment. Usually manufacturers go aluminum up front to save weight where it counts for handling. Here it's just the back end. Not sure what the strategy is there. This car comes with an open type air suspension. Dropping the height is quick, takes only about 5 seconds, but raising it is much slower, needing over 20 seconds. With the suspension set to its lowest position, there's less than 5 centimeters between the tires and the wheel arches, and the ground clearance is around 10 centimeters. Raise it to the highest setting and the gap between the tires and arches grows to about 10 centimeters, giving roughly 15 centimeters of ground clearance. Alright, let's see if this thing's got a frunk. Pop the hood. Yep, it's there, but it's tiny. The bottom is about 60 centimeters long, 20 centimeters wide, and not even 20 centimeters deep. Basically, just enough for a daily commute backpack. On the plastic cover inside, there's actually a printed diagram of the car's teardown, kind of a neat little Easter egg, and it looks like this panel can be lifted. Yep, underneath there's a small cavity with a drain hole. When it comes to parts integration, Tesla's still the master. They've managed to give you a huge frunk even on a compact body. Right now in China, the only one really matching them is NIO. The storage space on the L90 is right up there with Tesla's. If you're curious, tap the link in the corner to watch our video on it. Looking up here, finally, Xpeng didn't cheap out on sound insulation this time. Under the hood, there's a massive panel of insulation material covering almost 80% of the area. Nice work, Xpeng. Let's hope you keep it that way. The side mirrors use this frameless design, which already looks pretty sleek. And see that blue light? That's your indicator that the autonomous driving system is active, and it also doubles as a turn signal. Moving around to the back, the overall shape mirrors the front as you've got the same sleek LED light bar running across. The license plate sits way down at the bottom of the bumper, and just above it, you'll spot two small blue lights. Those are indicators for the autonomous driving status. Thankfully, the tailgate release button isn't awkwardly stuck down by the plate. Instead, it's neatly placed between the two cameras above, one for autonomous driving, the other for the digital rearview mirror. This is a hatchback style tailgate, so when it opens, the opening is huge, makes it super easy to slide in larger pieces of luggage. Function-wise, you've got lights on both sides. On the right, there's a 12-volt power outlet and a little net pocket. Would have been nice to see a 220-volt socket here, but no luck. On the left, aside from the lighting, you've got a hidden fold-out hook, and yep, that elastic strap for holding an umbrella, the same one we saw on the G7, is still here tucked right into the pull loop for the cover. What's missing though is a one-touch button to drop the rear seats, and the middle section of the backrest can't fold down separately for loading longer items. Hopefully Xpeng adds those in the future. They'd make life a lot easier for owners. The trunk floor doesn't have any latch or slot to hold it up, so you can't really free up both hands to grab stuff underneath. A bit inconvenient. Under the floor there's an extra storage compartment, but it's not that big. You won't fit a 20-inch carry-on suitcase in here. Overall, Xpeng's vertical integration of components isn't all that great, so even though the body size is decent, the usable storage space is nowhere near what you get in a Tesla or a Neo. With the rear seats folded down, the floor's actually pretty flat. I can lie down in here no problem, and my feet still have about 10 centimeters of space to the tailgate. For reference, I'm 171 meters tall, so when you drop the seats, the total load depth stretches out to roughly 1.8 meters. That's a lot of room for a weekend camping setup or just hauling longer stuff. Alright, let's hop inside and check out the cabin. First up, the door glass. Up front, you get double laminated glass, nice for keeping things quiet. But in the back, just single pane. Come on Xpeng, why not give us double glass all around? Are the folks in the rear seats somehow less important? And here's one of those little quirks. The rear windows don't roll all the way down. They drop to about 60% then stop. Not a deal breaker, but if you're the type who likes to rest your arm on a fully open window in the back, that's not happening here. The doors here are frameless, which instantly gives the car that premium coupe vibe. The door panel itself keeps things pretty clean. Up top, you've got a brushed metal strip that's not just for show, it's also hiding the ambient lighting inside. The purple section is wrapped in leather, while the armrest area gets Alcantara. Even the speaker grille, though it's finished in black, is wrapped in perforated leather. Down at the bottom, it switches to black plastic. And tucked inside the door pocket is the emergency mechanical release, marked with a bright yellow label so you can't miss it, and it's right where you'd expect it for quick use. This display car's rocking a purple interior, and the whole vibe leans toward clean and sporty. It doesn't try to be plush like the G7 with fancy wood trim, and that's fine. But honestly, it does feel a bit plain. If they don't want to go the luxury route, I think some sharp contrasting color accents could really punch up the visual appeal. The ambient lighting could use more personality too. It's a little too safe right now. Overall, the interior just doesn't hit you with the same wow factor as the exterior, and yeah, that's a bit of a letdown for me. And unlike what Xiaomi's doing, this interior doesn't really give you any geek-friendly add-ons. There aren't extra ports or creative accessory options to plug in something fun or functional. If Xpeng could offer multiple accessory interfaces and develop some cool add-ons, whether decorative or practical, it would give this cabin way more personality and playability. But as it stands, well, you'll just have to focus on driving. As for the seats, both the driver and passenger get full power adjustment along with heating, ventilation and massage. The driver's seat also adds an extendable thigh support and side bolsters like the Xiaomi SU7. The catch is, those bolsters react pretty slowly, so unlike a true dynamic system, they can't instantly firm up on the side you're leaning into when you're taking a sharp corner. For the passenger seat, the adjustment options are a lot more limited. You can only move it forward and back, up and down, and adjust the seat back. You can't even tweak the seat cushion tilt. Sliding into the driver's seat, the new P7 greets you with a steering wheel that looks a lot like the one in the Xiaomi SU7. The rotary knob on the left lets you adjust the suspension height, and pressing it engages the autonomous driving system. Over on the right, the rotary knob switches between drive modes, and pressing it activates boost mode. Even the driver display is almost identical to the one in the Xiaomi SU7. The only real difference is that this one doesn't flip. The steering wheel is pretty compact, which makes it look thick and chunky. The upside is that with this size, it doesn't block your view of the infotainment screen. While the driver display can't flip, the center screen here actually moves, not just side to side like Zeekr's sunflower screen, but up and down as well. Sure, it's a bit of a party trick and might give you some emotional value, but in terms of real-world usefulness, I'm not convinced it offers anything beyond extra cost. Zeekr already tried similar gimmicks, even let the screen slide over to the passenger in the Zeekr X, and it didn't really land. Honestly, I'd rather skip the moving screen and see that cost savings go into lowering the price. I switched the infotainment system to English so we can walk through the drive modes. In sport mode, there's an option called advanced racing mode. Just drag the little car icon over to the right and it kicks into track mode. Now, once that's on, you get a tire pressure display plus a rear motor temperature readout, which also tells me this demo car is a single motor version. There's also an acceleration G meter, and below that, two settings. The left one adjusts regenerative braking strength and the right one toggles ESC. But I couldn't find any options for front-rear torque distribution or traction control. So yeah, this track mode feels more like a mood setter than a serious performance tool. It really shows that the P7 isn't aiming to be a true driver's car like the Xiaomi SU7. It's more of a family sedan dressed up in a sporty suit. This car uses the same AR head-up display as the G7. Because of its refresh rate and color rendering, it might look a little strange on camera, but to the naked eye, it appears perfectly normal. The air vents are electronically controlled, just like in the G7. They use a reflective design where the airflow bounces off the interior panels before entering the cabin, which helps avoid blowing directly on passengers and improves comfort. The two central vents can also be aimed at the wireless charging pad to help keep your phone from overheating while charging. However, when I checked the seat options, I couldn't find a massage function. Looks like seat massage isn't a standard feature here, which is a bit of a letdown. The glove box is electronically operated and you can even set a passcode lock for it. Capacity-wise, it's pretty average, but there's a neat little design detail here. There's a hidden hook inside. You can flip it out without affecting the glove box's opening or closing. That means your front passenger gets an extra hook to hang takeout bags or other small items without worrying about them tipping over and spilling. Another cool touch, they've added a small touch-sensitive button right on the metal trim of the door panels, and it's on both the driver and passenger side. You can customize what it does, like opening the front, trunk, or glove box. And look at that, the seat massage option popped up again here. Kinda reinforces my feeling that the infotainment system on this display car is still a bit of a work in progress. And over on the left side of the steering wheel, there's another customizable button. This one actually gives you a wider range of functions to choose from. The system's response speed is insanely quick. I set the steering wheel's custom button to bring up the 360-degree view, and the moment I pressed it, the interface popped up instantly. Basically zero delay. My guess is this demo car is running the triple Turing chip setup with one dedicated just to the cabin system. That would explain why it's so ridiculously fast. Wow. Seriously impressive. Looks like there's still a ton of potential for this smart cockpit to grow even further. The cup holders even get ambient lighting, which is a nice touch. The center armrest doesn't use a mechanical latch, you can just pull it open. And since there's no fridge here, the storage space inside is huge. Just like in the G9, there's an air vent inside, so you can use the AC to cool or warm whatever you put in there. And if you don't need it, you can simply rotate it closed. The fragrance system is tucked in here too. Still, I'd personally take a real fridge any day, and especially in tropical countries where being able to grab an ice-cold drink in the car can seriously boost your happiness. Down under the center console, there's another storage compartment with a 12-volt outlet, a USB-C port, and a USB-A port. Looks like Xpeng really loves the USB-A. It's like they're never ever gonna let it go. Look up and you'll see the headliner is wrapped in Alcantara and the rear view mirror is a digital streaming one, which is great. The eye tracker that used to be on the A-pillar has now been moved up to the headliner, and they've even added another camera up here. This one comes with a cover, so if you want more privacy, you can just slide it shut. All the touch points across the dashboard are wrapped in leather. The seats are upholstered in Nappa leather too, and it's not that greasy kind of texture, which actually fits the vibe of this car pretty well. They're shaped like sport seats, and both the seat base and backrest bolsters are finished in suede-like material, adding extra lateral grip for better support during spirited driving. In terms of comfort though, both the Nappa leather and the padding underneath are on the firmer side, so for long distance trips, comfort might just be average. As for headroom, with the seat dropped to its lowest setting, there's still almost 20 centimeters of clearance above my head. Raise the seat to its highest position and you still get over 5 centimeters to spare. So even though this car sits quite low, the front headroom is still well taken care of. Alright, let's move to the back seats. The rear door panels share pretty much the same design as the front. But there's one thing I have to keep criticizing, the emergency mechanical door release. Sure, it's in a fairly visible spot, but you have to remove this cover before you can pull the lever inside. And taking off that cover is a pain. You have to press the left side just to pop it open. I mean, if you already know this is meant for emergencies, why make it so hard to use? It makes the word emergency printed on it feel kind of ironic. The rear seat cushion is impressively thick, about 20 centimeters, which should mean good comfort. But the seat backs aren't adjustable, so you can't change your posture on long trips. Sitting here, yes, The cushion is noticeably softer than the front seats. Legroom is also very generous. For reference, I'm 1.71 meters tall, and with the front seat set to my driving position, there's still over 20 centimeters of space for my legs. The space under the front seats is pretty limited though, so I can't fully slide my feet forward. Luckily, the seat cushion is long enough and angled upward quite a bit, so even without stretching my legs all the way, my thighs still get solid support. The rear seats also have Alcantara on both the cushion and backrest bolsters. The rear seat amenities are pretty average. There's an overhead reading light and a small hook on the B-pillar, but no fold-out tray on the back of the front seats, not even a storage pocket, let alone any kind of mounting points for accessories. The air vents are positioned behind the center console with two USB-C ports underneath. Above them is a small color touchscreen that lets you control the front passenger seat and the climate settings. Honestly, adding a video playback function here feels pointless. Who's really going to keep their head down and watch movies on such a tiny screen for long? The floor is completely flat, which is nice, but the middle seat has a soft cushion paired with a rock-hard backrest, making it uncomfortable for extended rides. Lowering the center armrest reveals just two cup holders and nothing else. Headroom in the back isn't nearly as good as in the front. At my height, there's less than 5 centimeters of clearance. If you're over 1.8 meters tall, your head will be touching the roof glass. The triple-layer silver-coated panoramic sunroof does a great job blocking infrared rays. As you can see, the tailgate glass is noticeably brighter than the roof glass. But with my head so close to it, I'm still a bit concerned it might get uncomfortably hot in warmer regions. Since this car hasn't officially launched yet, we can't take it for a test drive, but I know some of you might be curious about the AR head-up display, so I've added a test drive clip from the G7 for reference. Now, let's talk about some features you can't see at first glance. The new P7 is built on a full domain 800-volt high-voltage platform and comes in 3 trims: long range, ultra long range, and performance. Their ranges are 702 kilometers, 820 kilometers, and 750 kilometers respectively. The performance version does 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 3.7 seconds and stops in just 33.16 meters. All models use 5 C-rate batteries that can add 525 kilometers of range in just 10 minutes of fast charging, with 10 to 80% taking about 11.3 minutes. The long range uses a 74.9 kilowatt-hour LFP battery, while the other 2 trims get a 92.2 kilowatt-hour NCM pack. Energy consumption is impressive. The rear-wheel drive models sip as little as 12 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers, and the all-wheel drive ones only 13.5 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers. That's on par with, or even better than, the Tesla Model 3. With bigger batteries, the P7 offers far more range, and yet it's expected to be priced even lower than a Model 3. And let's not forget, these efficiency numbers come from a car that's much larger and heavier than the Model 3. Yes, Tesla's full self-driving is still ahead of Xpeng's driver assist, but it costs nearly $10,000 extra and still isn't usable in most countries. Xpeng's system is also excellent, and in many regions it's completely free. That's why I said the Tesla Model Y just isn't worth the money you're paying for it these days. Alright, that's it for today's video. If you found it helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it so more people can see it. Thanks for watching. Peace.